Hi, my name is Matthew Saris, creator of the Spectrum Review series, and I would like to take this brief moment to mention something before the episode begins. For those who do not know, this review is specifically dedicated to one very special thing. For those who do not know, today, February 4th, is a national day dedicated to National Cancer Awareness, or National Cancer Awareness Day, where people learn about and how to prevent a very serious and deadly thing called cancer. And unfortunately, it takes up to over 500,000 people every year in the United States and nearly 10 million worldwide. And, of course, as the title of the video suggests, I will be reviewing a movie involving two people with cancer who fall in love. I just felt to do it for this specific day because, well, it was a great movie about two lovebirds who fall in love while battling their own cancers, having that struggles, They're struggling with their relationship, And of course, the fight doesn't just exist in individuals and movie characters. In real life, there are countless organizations that are dedicated to funding money for finding a cure for cancer. Unfortunately, my channel is not monetized, so I can't earn any earnings nor send them to charities, let alone donate to them. To such wonderful charities like these. But I will say that I greatly appreciate their work and hope they continue to do what they can to beat this terrible disease. However, if you do want to donate to awesome charities like these, I will put links in the description to some charities designed for cancer and cancer awareness. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Spectrum Reviews. You're watching Spectrum Reviews. Hello, I'm Matt the Critic. I review it so you don't have to. Say, I have a question. What is a story about romance that you like? Is it a typical teen romance? Is it like a beach romance, animated romance? Or is this some other type of romance that you like? Well, in my case, if you ask me what type of romance stories that I like, there are some romance stories that relate to the real struggles that relationships can have. And those are the ones that I, myself, personally like or enjoy. Yeah. Because for today, I will be checking out one such instance. But this time, it's based off of a best-selling book. And it involves two characters with cancer. And it is also in honor of National Cancer Awareness Day, at the time of this recording, as well. You want to know what movie it is? Well, I'll tell you. So why don't we take a trip back to the pages to review a movie called The Fault in Our Stars. For those wondering what it's about this girl named Hazel Grace, a 17-year-old who was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which had spread to her lungs, who falls in love with a kid named Augustus Waters, a guy who is currently in remission with his cancer, which also led to him losing a leg. That's unfortunate. Little do the two know that their worlds will be turned upside down. In all seriousness, though, let's talk about the movie. Before I start talking, this video is in honor of National Cancer Awareness Day on the day of February 4th, at the time of this recording. And like I mentioned earlier on in this video, if you want to donate to cancer awareness charities, I'll include links in the description of this video to websites dedicated to fighting and finding a cure for cancer. Now, let's talk about the movie. So, our movie opens with Hazel narrating a bit of her life from watching reality shows, shopping at the mall with her mother, chemo, and other things, to name a few. One day, her mother, assuming that Hazel is depressed, sends her to a cancer support group. Yes, a cancer support group, which basically is a support group for people with cancer, which is where she meets Augustus Waters and another kid named Isaac. He won't really play a major part in the movie, just wanted to remind you, but I just wanted to mention that. He's a kid who has eye cancer. Augustus asks Hazel to come to his house after the whole thing was over, which they eventually do. While in their car, Hazel Gus's car, Hazel Grace tells Gus her cancer story when she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer at the age of 13, including the time that she had a near-death experience with her cancer. She almost died. I don't know exactly what age she was, but she almost died, but she's considered a miracle child because she actually survived that experience. So they arrive at the house, Gus's house, where she introduces him to her favorite book, An Imperial Affliction, a book about a person's battle with cancer. Over time, they start to become good friends. One night, Gus tells Hazel an email he got from the author of Hazel's favorite book, An Imperial Affliction. His name is, if you want to know what his name is Peter Van Houten. And of course, she's overjoyed and all that. Then, the same time, she sends an email to Van Houten, who responds to her the next morning and all that, to basically ask, if you are in town, you just come and talk to us, Come talk to us. And Hazel Grace is like, oh yeah, we want to go to Amsterdam to go talk about Imperial Affliction. So yeah, he responds to her the next morning and all of that. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff that happens next, but we'll get into it. So, during this time, Hazel and Gus begin a friendly relationship, and they one day go on a date. Gus informs Hazel that he got tickets for her and him and her, I mean Hazel and Gus, to go to Amsterdam to go see Van Houten. How he got this is by the Genies, which is this movie's version of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That is a good organization, by the way. Which overjoyed Hazel, because that's her favorite author, But the same night, she ended up in the hospital due to a situation with her lungs, and her doctors recommended that she doesn't go to Amsterdam because of that. Psych! But before we go, continuing, Hazel decides to cut off the flirting stuff with Gus, saying to remain friends and all that. But they still flirt. Anyway, continuing. She is told by her mother that she can go to Amsterdam for half the time that they wanted. She wanted 6 days, they went 3. So, Hazel, Gus, and Hazel's mom all head on a plane to Amsterdam to meet Peter Van Houten to ask questions about An Imperial Affliction. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff that happens next, but we'll get into it. Before we continue, there is one thing I would like to mention real quick. Every so often, there is this thing in the movie with Gus, and I'm not kidding here, smoking cigarettes. Yes, he actually does do it. Well, he doesn't smoke, he just puts them in his mouth, He never lit one. According to him, it can be a metaphor, You put something in your mouth, but you don't give it the power to kill you. It's like that. That's a metaphor. It's a pretty interesting metaphor that he came up. Not gonna lie. I just wanted to mention that real quick. Anyway, let's continue on with the movie. So, they arrive in Amsterdam, check into a hotel, and begin to explore the city of Amsterdam. They get a fancy dinner, brought to them by Peter Van Houten and his assistant. This is where Gus confesses his love to Hazel. And they go to a street musical performance while acting a bit romantic to each other, like one's cuddling and the other shoulder, that kind of romance. The next day, they, and I mean Augustus and Hazel, they visit Peter's house, excited to finally ask the questions they wanted to ask, involving, the ending of the book. For those wondering, An Imperial Affliction has one of those endings where, nothing happens, So, yeah. Unfortunately, Peter turns out to be quite an asshole. Yes, I know what I said, I don't care. Because he insults the two for their quote-unquote childish means and their childish questions, and also for their diseases. So, your favorite author, Peter Van Houten, is a asshole. A drunk, a alcoholic. He's an alcoholic, if you're wondering. While leaving, his assistant Liedewig, I hope I got that right, apologizes for the mishap that they had with Peter, and makes up by taking them to the Anne Frank house. It is here that Gus and Hazel share their first kiss in public, which the rest of the people there present at the scene applaud. So they head to a hotel room and sleep. No romance stuff. Definitely no romance occurring there. Okay, get out of here, please. Anyways, sad news. Unfortunately, it gets sad. So, sad news is delivered to Hazel when Gus reveals that his cancer came back and now has spread to his entire body and it is now terminal, which saddens Hazel, and I'm sure it probably sadden anyone who finds out that their cancer came back and it's now terminal. For those wondering, terminal cancers are where your cancer could pretty much be deadly. You know, like it could end your life. You know, end the person's life who gets that cancer. Yeah. There's some interesting stuff that happens next, but we'll get into it. Oh, by the way, there is something I would like to mention real quick. If you are wondering about what happened to Isaac, well, I'll tell you. Isaac got his surgery on his only seeing eye because one of his the other eye is a glass eye, meaning he can't see out of that one. And now he's completely blind. He even had a girlfriend named Monica once. He must have scored pretty good. But they broke up after Isaac got his surgery. Probably because she couldn't handle that Isaac was losing his vision. It was probably due to him losing his vision. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that real quick to anyone who's wondering. Anyway, let's continue on with the movie. So, they return back home. If you're wondering, it's Indianapolis, Indiana, where Gus's health starts to deteriorate. In the meantime, Gus, Hazel, and Isaac get the idea to egg Isaac's ex, and by that I mean Monica, house because how she treated Isaac. They got her car and all that. Her mother came out. They just told her to leave, you know. And Isaac was one doing the egging, you know. Then one day, Gus asks Hazel via phone call to help because his cancer is started to get infected and all that because, well, he noticed that because Gus was trying to get some cigarettes from a gas station. And slowly, Gus begins to have self-doubt over his impact on the world. Throughout the movie, Gus has this thing about wanting to have an impact on the world. And Hazel had them have an argument about that. Hey, oh, by the way, Gus kind of loses the ability to walk, you know. One day, Hazel and Gus's friend Isaac, who I mentioned earlier, attend Gus's pre-funeral due to the fact that he is slowly dying from his cancer, and like I said, he's losing his ability to walk. Isaac gives his eulogy, and then Hazel gives her eulogy as well. She tears up trying to say it. It's hard reading someone's eulogy for someone who's dying, you know. It's kind of hard for that, you know. But she says she loves Gus so much. She did say it earlier in the movie, though, but that's besides the point. Gus says, back whispering, you know, these two really do love each other, you know. That's a true relationship right there. But things didn't end well. Here is the ending of the movie. Unfortunately, the movie ends in tragedy, as Gus passes away 8 days after the pre-funeral because the cancer stopped his heart, which, well, caused him to die, which leaves Hazel devastated. We see her cry, we see her emotionally distressed, we see her fall into her mother's arms. It's real. This isn't cheesy crying. This isn't kid crying like, wham. No, not that. This is real human pain that is expressed here when we, as human beings, lose our loved ones. Yes, I know it was scripted, but how they did it was so well done. It was so well done that made it seem like it was real human pain. This scene, the scene where she was found out that Gus died, was one that was real pain that is expressed here. Gus's funeral eventually rolls around. Sorry. Let me say that again. Gus's funeral eventually rolls around, and Peter Van Houten actually shows up to it. Tells Hazel that his book is actually based on his daughter's battle. She had leukemia. It also ended in tragedy when she was 8. He also apologized to Hazel for ruining the trip, even though he actually didn't. But that's beside the point. Peter gives Hazel a piece of paper. She crumpled it up because, well, she hates Peter Van Houten. And he's kicked out of Hazel's car. They go back home. She's mourning. Hazel finds out by Isaac. She visits Isaac one day and finds out that it was, in fact, a eulogy for Hazel that Gus asked Van Houten to write. Meaning, well, basically, Gus asked Peter Van Houten to write the words. Gus basically wrote the words, gave the words to him, and then Van Houten, well, written the words down. And then he sent it to Hazel at Gus's funeral. That way, when she passes away, someone will read the eulogy for her. Which Hazel says okay, signifying the two's relationship. Yeah, that's actually how the movie ends. She says okay, because that's there always. That's the saying in this movie. Isaac and his girlfriend Monica said always, because they'll always be together. Hazel and Gus's quote unquote always is okay. So it signified the relationship. And that was The Fault in Our Stars. This movie was amazing. The story was well done, the writing was fantastic, the characters were well written and visualized, and in my opinion, I think the studios did a good job making this movie based off of the book. And I also want to say that the book itself, even though I've never actually read it, is absolutely amazing. Yes, I know I haven't read it, but based on the movie, it's amazing. And John Green is a great author as well. He's a really, really great man. He's a great author, and he is a great man as well. And yeah, now here are my ratings for the movie. If you are wondering what I would rate this, I would rate this at least a 9.5 out of 10, and I would recommend it to everyone, families, teens, and kids alike. However, and by the way, there is a scene in this movie that you may want to fast forward if you have kids with you. If you ever see this movie, skip past there. There's one scene where things get a little too heated up for Hazel, Grace, and Gus romantically. So if you want to just watch it with kids, just skip past that part, okay? And yeah, those are my overall thoughts on the movie. So, it seems to me that some movies that are based on books, kids or non-kids, can be absolutely amazing at times. Don't you think? Now, instead of ending this episode in the normal way where I say, now if you'll excuse me, yada yada yada, I just want to take this moment to say this. I know that some of you, I'm not sure if this is for all of you out there, but to some of you, the viewers watching this video, I'm sure you have unfortunately lost relatives to cancer. Friends, family to cancer. And I'm sure you know what it is like to go through the same pain that Hazel went through. I mean, my family's gone through it. I lost my grandfather to cancer 5 years ago. Even though I haven't seen him a lot, it still hurts my mom. And not too long, about a few years ago, I lost my great aunt to lung cancer. And that affected my grandmother dearly. So it affected our family in a way. So, and to anyone that has gone through that, and to that I say, I am so sorry for what you've gone through. I apologize sometimes. Sometimes I don't. I sometimes forget what I'm saying. I sometimes skittle. You know, like you know the thing where people do. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I am very sorry for your loss, and my deepest condolences go out to you and your family and your friends. And yeah, um, yeah, I'm sorry for that. One thing is clear though, cancer is horrible. It is a horrible thing in this world, and it should not exist. My friends, we can work together to beat this terrible disease and save millions of people's lives, young and old. Which is why I like this, which is why, like I said earlier on in the video, twice, there will be links in the description to 5 awesome cancer charities that if you want to donate to, I would definitely recommend you do it. It can help people not go through the same amount of pain that one goes through when they lose someone to cancer, family or friend. I would very much recommend that you do that, and I'm sure the family and friends of those people who've lost people to cancer would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Anyways, that is our show. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you next week. I am Matt the Critic, and I reviewed it so you don't have to.